Welcome to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. Well, Make Mental Health Matter show with the theme of Mental Health Mondays. And if you haven't watched before, as a reminder, well, if you have watched, then you would already know. But if you haven't watched before, I talk to guests who are professionals in the mental health space, advocates of mental health, or those who live with or experience a mental health challenge. And if this is your first time, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you are watching it, make sure you follow us. Mash down that subscribe button so that you don't miss another episode. And my name is Kelli Melissa Reinhart. I am the host of Make Mental Health Matter. We show this show 2 times per week on Mondays at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time with the theme of Mental Health Mondays, and also on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Warrior Wednesdays. So if you've been watching for a long time, you know what it's about. But we did make that new shift with the name to make mental health matter so that we can add the additional hour on Wednesdays, which has been really amazing also. But without further ado, and let's jump right in, I want to bring on my guest for today, Fitz Koehler. Thank you, Fitz, so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Kelli.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So the important professional stuff, I'm a speaker. I'm a very noisy race announcer. I'm a fitness expert, and I am the author of the Cancer Comeback series.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm sure there's a little more story to why you wrote that book also.
Yeah. So 2019, living the life of the fitness pro, walking the walk, living my best life. 7 weeks after a sparkling clean mammogram, I got out of a hotel shower at a race weekend where I was running a race. And I did one of these maneuvers and I found a lump, and it was a sizey lump, and it had already spread to my lymph nodes. So I found that lump and I took immediate action, called the physician, had the series of scans and biopsies and so forth. And within probably a week or so of finding that lump, I was told, you have breast cancer and it's running through you like wildfire. We need to giddy up. And so it's funny, with the mental health thing, I mean, I am the ultimate optimist. I'm a true Tigger. So I wake up, I spring out of bed. I'm happy to be alive. Complaining is annoying to me. Fretting is annoying, all of those things. But, cancer comes with a very particular weight that is cruel and unusual. And it even took the sunshine out of me for a little while. I was terrified and very stressed. And, I had to make some very, very big, very quality decisions to be able to control my mental health and my physical health as well.
Yeah, I mean, just the journey of being diagnosed, and what you said is that, I mean, you had a squeaky clean mammogram, and then all of a sudden it was just there, and then having the knowledge that it was spreading so much. I mean, I couldn't imagine how that would feel and what that would do for your mental health. But
Yeah,
I
it was
know,
it was brutal. I mean, I feared for my life. I definitely thought, and even being the ultimate optimist, I thought, oh, for sure, I'm dying. I'm definitely gonna, I just thought things are going too well. I got the perfect family, perfect career, perfect everything. I'm gonna make the perfect tale of tragedy, right? And I was afraid of losing my own life, which I like very much, and I would like to keep. Thank you very much. But more importantly, I was just devastated by the thought of losing out on Ginger and Parker's lives. Those are my kids. And any parent will testify that, you become a second priority after you have children, and just not being able to enjoy their lives and see them grow up. And that was agonizing. That was pure hell. I've never experienced anything like that before.
yeah, I mean, I could only imagine. I actually, today, my son is home sick with me. So if you hear anything in the background,
Yeah.
but I understand that that becomes now our priority is I have to live another day for my kid, and I don't want to not grow up, or I don't want them to grow up without me. And it's even if they catch it early or any, like you go in and they're like, you're stage 1, but you have to go through this and go through that and go through this
It's
surgery.
just scary.
It's so scary.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I know you have written 2 books and a journal. Is that correct?
Right. So I have My Noisy Cancer Comeback, and that's a memoir. It's funny. I never imagined I'd be writing a book about cancer or me. I'm, my business is Fitzness. It's got my name on it, but my business is about you. It's about everybody else. And so I don't even usually post pictures of me exercising. You know how every exercise person in the world is like, look at me. I don't do much of that. And because it's about you, I'm not the star of the show. But what I found with the memoir, I had decided not to tell people what was going on behind the scenes while they were going on. So I had no choice but to tell everybody, hey, I got cancer, because I was going to show up on stages around the country bald and people were going to ask questions. So I was forthright about my disease, but I decided my role in their life is a beacon of health and happiness. It is not of suffering and sorrow. And so as things started happening to me, I kept on the happy face and said, it's fine. When things were definitely not fine, I would just say it's fine. But as things started to happen, some of them were scary and stressful and all that stuff, but some of it was so funny. And what I think is interesting is I think you're not allowed to say cancer can be funny. I've been devastated by cancer. I lost my dad and my grandmother's. I get it. I've been brutalized by cancer personally, but there was also some really funny stuff. And if you can't laugh at yourself, you're really in for a lot of hurt. So as some of these scenarios became more and more ridiculous, I kept thinking, oh, people would get a kick out of this. I mean, they would just really have a good laugh at my expense, which is what I was okay with. And then I also, as I started implementing these good decisions and things were going well for me, even during the hardship, I thought, well, my role is to help people live better and longer. And if I didn't share these lessons learned, I would be a big jerk, right? I owe it to them to share. So the memoir is the adventure of cancer, the adventure, the nightmare, the tragedy, the triumph, all of that. And so I wrote that, and that's done really well. That came out in 2020. And then, and this is My Noisy Cancer Comeback. And as you can tell, I didn't want it to be a big pity party, right? I wanted people to look this book and go, oh, she had cancer, but she came back, like a happy story. And then this one was just released last month. This is Your Healthy Cancer Comeback, Sick to Strong. And I am so proud of this because this really goes back full force to being about you. And when I hit rock bottom, I had 15 months of chemo. So even though I did all of these things that really served me well, fitness wise and nutrition wise, eventually it caught up with me. I was skeletally thin. I had lost 80% of my strength. And looking at myself, this is at the point where my mom says, you look like you were in the Holocaust. And I said, oh, thanks, Mom. I know that. So I know, cringe, right? But she's like, well, I tell you the truth because I love you. So anyways, I'm looking like that, feeling like that. And I never had a doubt that I was going to rebuild my body, right? I never doubted that I would get my size back, my strength back, my happy feelings, because I'm a fitness expert. Yay for me. But at the very same time, I was thinking about my peers, these millions of cancer patients and survivors who get dragged behind a horse during their treatment. And it's just devastating. And they don't know how to rebuild their bodies and how to get back to normalcy or health and vibrancy. And so that's what this is for. And this one is jam-packed. I literally hold your hand from diagnosis through training during chemo, radiation, surgeries, transplants, exercises. There's a whole section on regular exercises for each body part, but then I go into, all right, let's say you can't stand. Fine, here's a ton of exercises you can do in a chair. And then there's a whole bunch of exercises you can do in bed and in the shower, and how to lean on nutrition. So anyways, that's this book. And then the Healthy Cancer Comeback Journal is being released at the end of this week. So I'm ecstatic. The books are doing great, and they're serving the purpose of helping the people I intended to.
That's amazing. And I mean, just being able to, one, I love your personality. And when you sent your biography, I was like, yes, I'm so excited to have you on the show, because last week I actually had a gentleman who also, he has been battling cancer for
Mm,
11 years, and
wow.
it's that hope piece, right? It's not, yes, I get down and this sucks, and there's moments like you said that are funny. How do we
Yeah.
look at those light parts, and how do we give the information to those that may be experiencing this journey, an unfortunate journey?
Yep.
But I love that you take people step by step and show them what they can do. It's about that ability.
So you just nailed it. So the first chapter of this book is so funny. You're going to appreciate this. Chapter 1 is called Control. And that's it. That's everything. It's control what you can. You get a cancer diagnosis, your life goes on spin cycle. Everything starts going wild, and what I want people to do is go laser focus in on the things you have control of. Can you choose the best physicians for your case? Yeah, don't have one assigned for you. Pick it. Pick your doctors, and then know that when they recommend treatment, know that they're recommending it. They're not forcing it. So you always have the final decision. And I think that's really comforting. And then can you use nutrition and exercise to make your body a more hostile environment for cancer? Yeah. And there are no negative side effects to that, right? I mean, chemo, definitely negative side effects. Radiation, for sure. You can have some burns and worse. But when you choose to move your body and you choose to ingest food that's good versus bad, and you can make your body a greater cancer fighting, infection fighting machine, is that important? Absolutely. I'm sure your friend who's been doing this for 11 years has figured out some of those things. What can he do to help his case along and make every day better? That's what you should do. Control.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that him and I had also had this conversation about when the doctors potentially give you a timeline as to how long you might live.
Right.
And we all have that choice as humans to either be like devastated, like you said, is that, you get this diagnosis and you're like, I'm going to die. And I'm like the most positive person in the world.
Yeah.
But you can either go with like, hey, I'm going to die in 6 weeks because this doctor told me that I'm going to, or I have the power to access my mind as it's created and know that I have so much more strength and control. I think that is amazing.
I think it's very interesting to see some people live far surpass their doctor's expectations, the studies, the research. What are they doing that the others aren't? And then, knowing that if you only have X amount of days left, and any one of us could get hit by a bus. I live in Florida. Sometimes I think it's get hit by lightning. It could happen, right? So are you making the best of every day as is? And when I was partially through my treatment, I had this day, this nightmare day, and I talk about it in my Noisy Cancer Comeback, but I finally understood why people would stop doing treatment. Like I had finally felt so bad, so sick, if everything was wrong with me. And I thought, okay, if my days were never going to be better than they are today, I would say no thank you. And that's a horrible understanding to be able to uh, experience, right? I feel so bad for anyone who's going through that thing. But what can you do each day? If you love soccer and your body won't play soccer anymore, all right, watch it on TV, talk about it with your old mates, listen to it on the radio, read books about soccer. If you love music, always have it playing. I hope that if my cancer care would have gone in a different direction, my final days would have been played out the way I wanted. I would have had the people I loved in the place that I wanted to be with some music that I enjoyed. I'm hoping I would have had, the ability to plan my own funeral, make it a party, send out a message to tell everybody to go exercise before they came to my funeral. That would be my wish. Everybody go have a sweaty workout, do whatever you like to do, and then come celebrate my life. So, control manifests in a variety of ways, and we don't always get what we want. I wish cancer was a non thing. I met a woman the other day at one of my races. She's fighting ALS, and she's a runner. And ALS is the cruelest because it just takes away your ability to move. Your mind stays sharp, but your body won't go. And she showed up and she walked behind my stage at the start line, and someone grabbed me and said, "This is Lynn Rogers." she has ALS and she had a walker. And I leaned down, I said, hey, Lynn, what are you doing? She said, I'm doing the half marathon. I was supposed to run it, but because of ALS, I can't. I was like, but look at you. Look at you. She's walking this half marathon. I can't tell you how many able-bodied adults that maybe they have a back pain or a sore foot or whatever. I would say, can you come do this half marathon? Oh, I can't. It is the most pathetic thing I hear on a regular basis is able-bodied people or people with the minuscule issues saying things like, I can't do a 5K. And I think, well, you really haven't figured out how to enjoy life. It's not about doing the things and at top tier. It's about just enjoying them. So yeah, you got to control what you can. Lynn Rogers is going to control every single day until ALS takes her motion. And I admire her more than anyone else today.
Yeah, that's amazing. And there's a lot of things that you said in there too that it is one of those, well, the negative patterns that people start thinking, well, I can't do this, so therefore I can't do that, or whatever the story that they're telling themselves. But I do think that this is like really timely for you, especially to come on my show, because I've had multiple friends recently that were diagnosed with breast cancer or other cancers, and they're literally just going through the process right now of having the surgery, lymph nodes removed, and also having to go through chemo and potentially radiology. No, that's
Radiation.
radiation. I was like, radiology, that's not the right word. And so I think it's good to have people share the hope place that yes, they're both stage 1. However, it is still a scary, scary journey. And we all, I think as humans, we understand that, but you don't really fully understand until you've been there.
For sure. I mean, it's funny because, with this book, I'm the expert. I'm an actual exercise expert. I've got the masters, all those things, but it's my street cred that people care about. They go, she's been there. She's been through it. That really matters. And I do have people that have been diagnosed with a cancer. Thankfully for them, it's operable and then they're done. And they're like, well, it's not like yours. And I feel like, oh my gosh, you had cancer. It doesn't matter if it was like mine. And there's a lot of people who have way worse experiences than I did. So this is not a competition. What we're hoping is all the humans win and all the cancer doesn't. I just read a study today. Someone sent me, a physician, that 10 million people die every year to cancer. 10 million people. It's just, it's not okay. It's not okay. But with breast cancer specifically, and most early stage detected cancers is, breast cancer is 94% curable. So your friends are going to be fine. I've never heard of a stage 1 person, someone finding it stage 1 and dying from that disease. So, is 94% great? Sure. Is it good when there's 1 in 8 women in North America diagnosed? It's not. We need to save it for those 6%. But no matter who's diagnosed, there's 3 things. There's the perspective. It could always be worse. For me, I kept my focus on the fact that I wasn't a kid with cancer, and I live in Gainesville, Florida. We have a pediatric oncology unit here, and we see it sometimes. And so grateful not to be a child with cancer. And number 2, grateful it wasn't my child with cancer. And so, those were things for me that were bright side. So because I got to be an adult with cancer, I decided to put my big girl panties on and get on with it. I was going to do whatever it took. And I did. I chose to pursue my passions. So, this weird new world where anyone gets sick and they say, isolate, hide out, go, don't see anybody. You know what? If you're sick and contagious, please don't share it, right? But if you just have, I don't know, cancer, for a good example, go live. I was lifted up, buoyed by these thousands of sweaty, germy strangers that I showed up across the country, sick and gray, all the things. I'd get on those planes and, sometimes I got IV fluids in the towns I'd visited. But those strangers made my life complete. They made my life of value at the moment. Because if I would have stayed home alone, all I would have been was sick. Because I pursued my passions, which were my kids and my career, I had joy. And it was, I do think sometimes I probably would have died without those people, without this career. So that was it. And then the other thing is just do your best to stay positive. I cried every day. I'm not unhuman. I cried every single day, but I would normally do it in my car or the bathroom, and I would boo-hoo, and then I'd dry my tears, and then I'd get on with it. And that really allowed me to persevere. So your friends, it's perspective, it's passions, whatever they are, you gotta force them into your life and then stay positive. The pity party goes nowhere fast. So have a cry and then move on. Do your best.
I love the tips also. And I do want to talk more about your racing and announcing. We're going to do a quick commercial and then we'll come back and chat about that. And like that, we are back. If you are just joining for now, that is perfect and okay. You have joined Make Mental Health Matter, and I am talking to my guest, Fitz Koehler. I'll bring you back up. I do want to chat. So when you sent me all your pictures, I picked the superhero one because my son loves superheroes and we're a total Avenger family. I want to just know a little bit more about being a spokesperson at the races. And I know you also speak too.
I do. So as far as the racing goes, what a blessing. It's something I started doing in 2014. So it's been about 10 years from now, 10 years now, and it brings me infinite joy. My role is usually at the start and finish line. So at the start line where people start gathering to go do their distance, whether it's a short distance or a long distance, I'm there on a stage playing exciting music. And my role is to get the crowd engaged, informed, and entertained. And so I have information to share where the water stations are and where gear check is. I plug sponsors. I do all the business end of our racing business. But then my job is to entertain. And so many people show up and they're really excited. Maybe they want a PR or it's their first race. They're pumped up. My job is to keep them pumped up and get them even more excited for their experience. And then there's some people that are just terrified, right? They're nervous. They've never done it before, or they've never done this distance. And my job is to calm them down, right? And the reality is I love them desperately. I take great ownership of everyone who shows up. I am a runner, so I know how hard it is. I've hit the wall, I've chafed, I've had miserable experiences and wonderful experiences, but I know what a gift it is to my health and my body and my profession. And so I try very hard to take care of these people. So sometimes it's this weekend I had about 3,000 athletes in Savannah, a women's half marathon and 5K. And a couple of weeks prior, I was at the Los Angeles Marathon, and we had 30,000 athletes that weekend from all over the world. And so at that start line, get everybody, make sure they feel like a team, make sure they all feel welcome and wanted and motivated. And then I whip them into a frenzy and I yell go, and then they leave. And I'm sad that they left because we were having so much fun. But then eventually I make my way to the finish line, and then they make their way, one by one through the finish line. And technology allows me to welcome almost everyone by name. And again, make sure every last athlete feels like they won, because it's great to make a champion feel like a champion. And I work hard to do that every time. But that last person, that person has worked way harder than our champion. Just that time out on their feet, the grit, the mental endurance that is taken to get there. And many of our runners are exclusively walkers. So it's a big group of people, diverse, and they have one thing in common. They're all trying to do something good for their health, their communities, great causes, and they might be running for mental health too. So I hope people know that the motivations are different. And if you are looking for a way to vent toxic feelings and build your self-esteem, the running community is waiting for you. And again, I say running, it could be walking, but short distance, long distance, whatever it takes, it's a godsend to many of us. So that's what I do as a race announcer. And I do it probably 30 something events all around the country every year: Fargo Marathon, Buffalo, Orange County, California, Tampa, Gasparilla. So I've got incredible events I'm very proud of. And then as a keynote speaker, which I've spoken for companies like Disney, Oakley, Tropicana, Office Depot, American Massage Therapy Association, you name it. I show up and I provide wisdom. I love that role. Race announcing, I do less of the teaching. There is more hoisting. I'm the ringleader. But in a corporate presentation, it's such a wonderful opportunity to connect with people in person, which I love, live audience, and then leave them with information that will help them improve their lives. So we talk about exercise, nutrition, mental fortitude. My most popular keynote right now is called Health During Hardship. And, we talk a lot about exercise, go to the gym, build these habits. But what happens when your spouse gets sick or your house burns down or, there's all these things that can happen? That's not the time where you give up your health. That's the time where you need to lean in because things are going wrong. You're especially vulnerable at those times. So how do we get you into the position where even when your house burns down, when you're feeling sad the next day, you go out and you go for a walk because that's good for you. That's going to help you get through your crisis, your tragedy, your illness, your injury. And so yeah, I talk. I do blah, blah, blah. This is what I do. I blah, blah, blah. Not I write books, and usually it's pretty effective.
Oh, I think it's so I have this kind of not weird dynamic, but I have heard multiple people, and I know it depends on whatever your thing is. You got to find your thing, and walking or running may not be your thing.
Right.
But I've also had people, say those that experience a mental health challenge, they're like, if another freaking person tells me to go take a walk, I'm gonna freak out. And I've heard that before, but I think that the value behind it is it gets you outside, you get that fresh air. Sitting in your house is not the best air for you. Like, it's not good for you. But like you just said, is if you have a trauma or a tragedy or something that happens that you're experiencing, how do we lean into our health versus what most of us might do is we get wrapped into taking care of your spouse or trying to find that new house, and we forget to take care of ourselves and we forget to take care of our mental health, and then we start eating a lot of really bad things and it just starts to spiral. And so I think that's important to hear.
You're right. And the reality is I think everybody wants to feel good. Everyone wants their body to feel good, to move well, to be pain-free. They want their mind to be calm and at peace. These are not scenarios that I'm providing that are weird, right? And it's funny, sometimes we're like, I hate running. Okay, well, don't run. Go swim, go dance, lift weights. With exercise, we want people to do cardio, strength, flexibility, and balance. Those are 4 really important parts. And it's about mobility and not being stiff and about not falling down. That's why balance training is important. So, it's indisputable that exercise is important to your body, but it's also indisputable that exercise is important to your mind. And when something happens, especially if you're someone who has a history of mental health issues, you're going to react. You are going to react to whatever situation in front of you, whether it's your sports team wins or your house burns is down. So if your house burns down, you're going to react one way. Is it going to be negative? Are you going to drink? Are you going to do drugs? Are you going to eat? Are you going to isolate, which makes you more depressed? Are you going to complain, which makes you more angry? What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose the ugly stuff? Or are you going to choose proven, I haven't done the studies, but they're endless, proven ways to productively deal with stress. So exercise is on the top of almost everybody's list, but it could also be taking a bath, reading a book. And, there are proven ways to deal with these things. And it's, again, about control. So you and I know that we can't force anybody into anything. So I never provide unsolicited fitness advice, because I couldn't go and tell my overweight friend, well, you have to do this, or they would just ignore me and go eat more yucky food, right? So people have to choose that for themselves. But, I do hope that one of your listeners hears me ranting on about good reactions and bad reactions, and maybe says, you know what, she's got a point. I hate running, but I really do like dancing. So I'm just going to turn on some stupid music and dance and see if that helps. It's habitual too. So I think I'm fortunate that I was born with the happy gene. I'm a joy addict. I choose it. I hunt it down, which made cancer very, very hard, because I was like, I don't want to feel bad, but if you weren't born with a happy gene, you can still learn habits that promote joy, that bring those endorphins and that adrenaline to your body. You're not a lost cause. There's a lot of us that have to work on things. I was overweight. I was a bulimic. I had to fight my way out of those things. So, when it comes to mental health, control. What can you control? Alcohol is only going to go so far, but a walk in the park, like you said, how annoying, or reading a book or doing whatever that makes you feel good is definitely a better choice for you. And it's a better choice for your family, because if you're the caregiver to somebody who's sick, you don't take care of yourself, when your health hits the fan, who's going to take care of your loved one? You need to go harder into your health when crisis strikes. I have one of my friends, great lady, her husband was wounded in the military, and he's for the rest of his life, he will need round the clock care in some regard. She has 4 different gym memberships, because when she brings him to therapy, physical therapy, she goes to one gym. When she brings him to mental therapy, she goes to a different gym. When he's in the hospital, she goes to a gym over there. And so she's living that gold star existence, because she's making choices that benefit her and will benefit her husband.
And it reminds me that I need to, I used to dance. That was like my thing as I was growing up. And then after my sister passed, I kind of lost a lot of that want to dance. And then most recently, I have been doing lives, and I did a 30-day, well, I think I only made it to about 19 days, but I did a 30-day challenge of gratitude, and I started dancing live and posting it. And I realized like how much I really truly enjoy that. And even if it's just silly or whatever it is, turning on the music and moving my body is very helpful. And I live in this world on a daily basis, and I have to remind myself. I can teach people, probably like you can teach people all these things, but oftentimes, at least for me, I forget to do it myself. And so I have to remind myself. And I know I'm actually going to be doing the 29029 Everesting challenge in August.
Okay.
And my friend who's doing it with me, he's like, so have you started training? And I was like, well, my excuse is because Colorado, it's been really, really brutally cold this year.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to get out, but I also didn't get a gym membership either. So I'm like, I need to do something to start training now, because it's not an option for me to not do all 13 passes. And I really I want to finish it, and it's 30 miles total. And I'm like, I don't want to die on the mountain, and I don't want to fail, because it'll be the biggest challenge mentally, physically, emotionally I've ever done in my life. And so you reminded me that I need to go start training.
You do. And so, number one, you do it for yourself, right? This is about Kelli. If you put this effort in about somebody else, it'll be much harder. So you're doing it for you. But also, you're going to inspire so many other people to greatness if you follow through. It's funny, when I trained for the Boston Marathon, I'd run plenty of half marathons and never had any interest in running a full. And then soon after I finished chemo, this guy Vince, who I hashtag I hate Vince, invites me to run the Boston Marathon. And I just couldn't refuse. And plus I thought, well, chemo's like, nothing's ever going to be hard compared to cancer again, right? So marathon, big deal, right? There's a methodology, and I can do hard things. So I started training. But training was in summer. It was an October Boston Marathon, which is the only time it's ever been in October. But I'm training in the summer in Florida. And so I was out in the woods running, and I ended up with heat exhaustion one morning. So I have the opposite. You've got the cold. I had the heat, and I threw up for exactly 6.5 miles back to my car. And then I had to go on the treadmill. And it's so funny how many people are so negative about treadmills. It's a treadmill. I hate the treadmill. I probably put over 100 miles on a treadmill. I did a 20-mile run one day on a treadmill. And, would I have rather been out in the fresh air in the woods? Sure. But was it an effective form of training? Yes. And were there benefits to the air conditioning and the place to hold my water and the TV I was watching? Yeah. So, we can do hard things. Just get that gym membership and get on with it.
Yeah, that's one of my friends. He did it a couple years ago, and he's like, honestly, just get a gym membership, get on the treadmill, do the highest incline, and just do that for like 7 hours straight. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
You gotta work up. Work up to that.
Yeah. I'm like, probably not just gonna start at 7 hours, but thank you for letting me know that that's an option. So
yeah, just figure it out.
Yeah. So I'm curious. With your journey through cancer, and I'm wondering, are you like clear now, or how is that going?
Yeah. So I am very cancer free. I'm very happy to be. It's been almost 3 years since I finished treatment. And they say 5 years is the big mark for cancer patients. 5 years is the place where you could let down your hair. But I do feel like it's gone. I'm not welcoming it back into my life. I feel like I'm really done. So hopefully my feelings are are in tune with reality. But yeah, I'm in full remission, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm so grateful.
That's awesome. And anybody who, whether they're looking for maybe getting started in fitness, or maybe they, like we were talking, maybe they're now having to go through this cancer journey, are there any tips, tricks, or things that you would want to throw out there other than the 3 that you already gave?
Yeah. So when it comes to the exercise portion, it's start where you are, right? You can't be a marathoner tomorrow if you're not a marathoner today, right? So start where you are, and your goal is to challenge your body just a little bit, not a lot, not to blow it out and make you miserable. It's not a workout. If it wasn't drenched in sweat and I'm not miserable the next day, that's just stupid. That's ignorant. So I want you to do something that makes you stronger, something that makes you huff and puff, something that makes you more bendy, more flexible, and then something that improves your balance. So you could start off with 5 minutes and add a minute of exercise every day. You could be the guy who just does 1 minute of exercise 30 times a day. So there really is no excuse not to get it done. You can do it any place with any type of equipment or without equipment, but start where you are. If you go to Fitzness.com, I've got tons of resources there. And then as far as cancer patients, I hope none of your listeners and viewers have cancer. That's my wish for them. None of them do. But we all love someone with cancer, every last one of us. And what happens is when someone we love gets diagnosed with cancer, we think, what can I do? This is what you can do. These are solutions that will help them help themselves learn why the health and fitness and the mental fortitude is important, and then give them the exact know-how on how to get it done. And again, I'm not making any of, I didn't invent exercise, right? And I didn't do the studies. Studies prove that if you exercise and watch what you put in your mouth, you'll be more likely to get into remission, less likely to have recurrence. And that's one of those greatest gifts you can give.
And here's the website for anybody that wants to go there.
Yeah. That's it. And all the books so the books are available everywhere books are sold. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, you name it. But if people come to Fitzness.com, the book's sold on my website. I sign every last one of them. I send them with a free gift, a fun little gift. And then I ship them in beautiful wrapping because I want my readers to feel loved. So that, and then I'm at Fitzness on socials, and I would love it if you guys, if you follow, I promise quality content in return. But really what I'd rather is for you to reach out and say, I heard you on Kelli's podcast and I'd like to connect, because I'd much rather have friends than followers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the relationship. And that's what I love when I have guests on that I don't necessarily know you before you're my guest, but I mean, this is now becomes family, and I love keeping the relationships. And I know you and I were talking before, and really this whole show is all about bringing those resources that maybe you didn't know about before, or bringing those people into your life that they share their story and you connect with them. So it makes you get up and take action, or just reach out and say, hey, I saw you on the show. Can we be friends? Right. So
Yeah.
love that. Anything or any last words or things that you wanted to talk about or share?
You know what? I just really want to make sure people know the value of their health. Prepare your body to do battle today, because none of us know when illness or injury will strike. And if we have taken care of ourselves, if we have put in the time, we will rebound and recover so much more quickly and efficiently if we had a fit body going into crisis. So don't wait. Don't wait until you hear a nasty diagnosis to say, all I wish is for my health. If I could only have one thing, you can have health today. So make it happen. No excuses. And when you're successful, reach out and brag to me. I love congratulating people on their success.
Awesome. And if you ever have a race in Colorado, you'll have to let me know so I can come.
Yeah, I'm sure I will be back announcing there at some point soon. You got it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was an amazing conversation, and I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks, Kelli, and bye, everybody.
All right, y'all. That was another amazing episode of Make Mental Health Matter with our theme on Mondays, Mental Health Mondays, where I talk to guests who are either professionals in the mental health space, advocates of mental health, or those that live with or experience a mental health challenge. And as a reminder, if this is your first time watching, make sure you mash down that subscribe button wherever you're watching, or if you're not following us, be sure to follow so that you don't miss another episode. And I promise you, every single week, my guests that come on, they really truly topple over each other. So if you haven't had a chance to go back and watch any of the other episodes, please go back and do that. Like we were talking, my guest last week, he's battling cancer. He's a survivor, and really bringing that hope piece in. Mental Health Mondays I've been doing since 2021. Just recently, we moved over to a new amazing platform that's given us the ability to showcase this across so many more streaming platforms like Roku, Apple TV, Fire, all the TVs. And we do also have a way for you to listen. So if you're a listener versus a watcher, you can go to any of the podcast streaming services like Apple, Google, iHeartRadio. I don't even know all the ones, but they're all there. So if this information was helpful, please make sure you share the show in addition to subscribing, because you never know, like I said, somebody's story that comes on, they may be able to help somebody who is going through that same experience, and it gives them resources that they're not alone. And really, truly, that is the whole reason why I do what I do. And with that said, I want you to know that on our website, so bccevolution.org, if you go, like, which way is it? Over here. If you go to the very front page, we have a free download. There are 7 strategies for mental wellness, which also includes a safety and self-care plan specifically for you, because you never know. Like Fitz said, you never know when challenges may come up. You may experience a trauma. Maybe somebody that you love does, whatever it might be. We never know what life is going to throw at us. And so having those resources or those tools in your tool belt are very valuable. So go grab your free download. You don't have to pay anything. It's free. So, and make sure you join us again every single Monday from 7. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. We do this one at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then we also have an additional show on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And I am very excited for my guest this Wednesday. He will actually be our very first guest on Warrior Wednesdays, and he almost became a school shooter. So I promise you, you don't want to miss hearing his story this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. He gives more insight than I've ever thought I could even understand or know about why people may become school shooters or just mass shooters in general. And so make sure you come and join that. Again, it's 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, same place wherever you're watching right now. If you follow or you subscribe, mash down those buttons and you won't miss it. You'll get an alert that we went live. But I want to just say thank you for hanging out. That was an amazing conversation that I had with Fitz, and do something great for your mental health today, whether that's getting outside and taking a walk, maybe it's reading a good book, maybe it's going to download that free download to see what other strategies you can put in place to help your mental health. And join us this Wednesday and then back next Monday. All right. Bye, y'all.